America's top diplomat is staunchly defending the Trump administration's foreign policy. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says the U.S. is building a new democratic order aimed at stopping bad actors like China, Russia, and Iran. But not all of America's allies agree with the president's policy. Correspondent Wyatt Goolsby has more from the State Department. Good evening, Wyatt.
Good evening, Lauren. Secretary Pompeo is in Brussels to meet with NATO allies. He says the Trump administration is asking whether the world's top international organizations really work or if there's need for reform. Pompeo says the U.S. will continue to call them out.
We aspire to make the international order serve our citizens, not to control them.
Secretary Mike Pompeo delivering a wide-ranging speech at NATO. He cites the importance of international cooperation, but criticizes the United Nations.
Today, at the United Nations, peacekeeping missions drag on for decades, no closer to peace. The UN's climate-related treaties are viewed by some nations as simply a vehicle to redistribute wealth.
Pompeo didn't limit his critiques to the UN. He also blamed the European Union, the Organization of American States, and the African Union. Brett Schaefer, an expert in foreign affairs, says Pompeo is doing his duty.
Being a large financial contributor, if not the largest in all of these organizations, puts a special responsibility on us. If we don't challenge the organization to meet its core mandate and hold it responsible for fulfilling its missions and responsibilities, who will?
Schaefer also praises Pompeo for calling out Russia, Iran, and China as bad actors who have not been held accountable for violating international treaties.
Words should mean something. Our administration is thus lawfully exiting or renegotiating outdated or harmful treaties, trade agreements, and other international arrangements that do not serve our sovereign interests or the interests of our allies.
Some European allies are pushing back against Pompeo. Critics say President Trump's approach includes too much aggressive rhetoric.
Secretary Pompeo says specifically the European Union has not held Iran accountable for their support and funding of terrorism. He also highlighted today China's numerous human rights violations. Lauren?
Why China does not allow Christians to openly practice their faith, and often China wants to control churches. Is the State Department addressing the issue of religious liberty there?
Pompeo and other members of the State Department are aware of the persecution of religious and ethnic minorities. Pompeo says China is guilty of what he called today Orwellian human rights violations. One example has been the censoring of Bibles. But also in recent years, China's government has banned tens of thousands of churches, either by cutting off electricity and water or just downright demolishing them. Lauren?
Correspondent Wyatt Goolsby reporting from the State Department. Thank you, Wyatt.